KCAA 1050 AM. If you miss us live, catch us at kcaaradio.com. We're in the archives, or better yet, you can see us streaming on Roku, Amazon Fire, or on Android on the Building Solid Foundations channel. That's a free channel you can download. Building Solid Foundations channel. Make sure you check us every week. You never know who's going to be here or what we're going to talk about. And today we're going to talk about note investing. And no, I'm not talking about buying Hallmark cards. Patrick Franz is a specialist in notes, and we're going to talk about what those are, why you would care, and how you would invest in those. Patrick, welcome to Building Solid Foundations.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve. I'm really honored to be on your show here. Thanks.
Now, and if you're a regular KCAA listener, you may recognize Patrick because he's one of the hosts of the Real Men of Real Estate show. So he's one of the recurring hosts. He's on once a month. Which week are you on, Patrick?
The second Sunday of every month, 1 p.m. Pacific time.
On KCAA. And guess what? Those shows also show up on the streaming services on the Building Solid Foundations channel, so you can catch them there. He has always fascinating and engaging guests. So I know Patrick from the real estate world. We've been in multiple different real estate investor associations together. And we've talked, and it's been a while trying to get onto each other's shows here, so trying to get the schedules worked out. So I'm glad to have him finally on Building Solid Foundations. And so let's talk a little about his background. You started your investing career back in the 90s, the late 90s. You started raising money for startup companies. So in the late 90s, that was the dot-com boom. Were those the kind of companies you were trying to raise money for?
Yeah, in fact, back when they were building online travel sites. You know, like Expedia and Travelocity and Priceline and those.
So did you talk to William Shatner?
No.
No, okay.
No, I wasn't able to. No, but I worked for a company where I was a phone grunt in a boiler room, right? Calling people to raise money for a startup that was going to compete in the online travel industry. Okay. That's where it all started.
Now, did that startup make it?
It did not.
It did not, as most of them did not.
Most of them did not.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that was the crazy world of the dot-coms. They boomed for a while, and then, as all industries do, you have the embryonic stage where everything goes crazy, and then all of a sudden it filters itself out, and the strong ones stand, and the rest of them go away.
Yes. And of course, I wasn't at all into the travel industry at that moment. I was just a salesperson, and right. I thought, what a neat thing to do to get into raising money for cool startup companies.
That's right.
And it was just a fun opportunity for me to hop on the phones, use my sales skills. But then in turn, you learn a lot about how the businesses are built and how startups are built. Just being around it. So that was kind of a cool experience.
Yeah, it was kind of the Wild West of the dot-com world back then.
Oh, yeah, and those phone rooms talk about Wild West. Yeah, let me tell you.
All right, so that's a venture capital world, and then you got into real estate. And a lot of people think real estate investing is kind of risky, but compared to venture capital, real estate is pretty calm. It's pretty tame.
I'll tell you, it's interesting you said that, because we're in such a high risk, high reward world of startup internet companies, right? That we literally had to have a clause when people would invest into that type of company, a clause that says, if you're not willing to accept losing all or some of the money you're investing in this project, don't do it.
We kind of do that in our projects too. We let people know that if losing money will affect your lifestyle, this is not a good investment for you, because we don't control the universe.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen? Now, people that don't like that particular clause, would they be considered claustrophobic?
Claustrophobic, love it. Yeah, no, but it was just high risk, high reward. It was one out of 50 of those companies would make it. And the ones that made it, it was 10, 20x return on your money, right, when they hit. And so, most of the people that were investing in those projects I found were very high net worth individuals that were probably doing something small, like to them small, $100K or something.
Pocket cash.
In 10 or 15 different startups that year.
And if one makes it, they make it.
Correct.
It's kind of like when you invest in, say, like movies or something like that. You invest in a dozen of them, knowing 11 will be flops, and the one that does hit should be pretty good.
100%.
And you'll make all that money back.
Yeah.
It's or playing 2/3 of the numbers on the roulette table.
There's
a good chance you're going to do okay, right?
There you have it. Or walk out a loser. Yes.
Or you walk out a total loser.
Yes,
yeah, exactly. That's always the case. So now you've been doing note sales. So let's first address the issue, and I know on your show you've done it, but we haven't really talked about it here on this show, and that is, let's talk about what a note is first and foremost, because a lot of people don't even understand what we're talking about when we say investing in a note.
Certainly, and let's qualify that it's a mortgage note, right? And the reason I'm qualifying that is because the term note is just short for promissory note.
It's an IOU.
It's an IOU. It's a promissory note. It's a written promissory note. And so anytime we borrow money for anything, right? If we borrow money to buy a car, you have now a car note. You borrow money to buy a house, you now have a mortgage note, and so on. So every time you borrow money, you're going to fill out a document called a promissory note, and that is really listing or explaining in words how it's kind of a contract between you and your lender, and those words in that promissory note really state how you are going to pay them their money back.
That's right.
It's the rules.
And so a note is any piece of paper instrument that substitutes for something of actual value.
Certainly.
So every dollar bill in your pocket, if you carry some people don't carry cash, but if you have any cash at all, you'll notice it doesn't say that it's a dollar. It says it's a note. Mm-hmm. And what it is it's the government saying, this is a piece of paper that you can exchange for goods and services that we will back up with actual value at some point if we ever had any. Mm-hmm. Although we don't really know what that is because it's an unsecured note.
Certainly no gold standard anymore for the
no
dollar
gold
bill,
standard.
Right?
So,
but yeah.
So secured and unsecured notes. Let's talk about those. Unsecured means I borrow $20 from you. I write you an IOU on a Post-it note. I hand it to you, and that's just it. Mm-hmm. If I do the same thing, but I took your guitar until you paid me back, that's a secured note.
Certainly.
Right?
Certainly. Yeah, there's an item of value that's being utilized as collateral until the note is paid in full.
Okay, so now we know what a note is and we know what a secured note is. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about getting into how that works, because you do this professionally every day with lots of people. So let's talk about you are a you train people in notes, but you actually do the note investing. So let's talk about how note investing works.
Yeah, so note investing works as such. If somebody had to borrow money to buy a house because they didn't have enough cash to do so, then they obviously went to some sort of a bank or a lender to get a home loan. That home loan has a certain term, of course. A lot of people are used to, 20, 30-year mortgages.
That's right.
And then there's a promissory note created between that borrower and the bank. And that promissory note now has a certain monthly payment that is to be paid on a certain day of each month for a certain amount of time. It could be up to like 30 years.
So that's what people think of as their mortgage is the bank bought the house, and now I'm going to pay them $2,500 a month for the next 35 years.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. And so as a mortgage note investor, what we're doing is going to private real estate investors, banks, hedge funds, credit unions, and folks that hold portfolios of these mortgages. And oftentimes they have several reasons they'd like to get them off their books, and they'd rather have cash in hand today versus hold that mortgage note to collect monthly cash flow for the next upcoming years. And so we are just folks that get in line with cash in hand to be able to buy those. And what you're doing is you're essentially just taking over the position of the bank, and you're buying the remaining payments, right? So if somebody did a 30-year mortgage loan and then they pay on time for 5 years, that means there's 25 years of that note remaining. And so I'll go and maybe buy those 25 years that are remaining from a bank, and then there's just transfer docs that transfer from that bank to me. Now, the reason why people don't understand that is because no one's really ever paid their mortgage payment to Steve Matley or Patrick Franz when they write out their mortgage payment every month. That's weird. And so there's a licensed loan servicing company that's sort of the intermediary between you and your borrower, which that's who manages collecting the payments every month from that homeowner and depositing them into your account. And so, the person who's living in that house doesn't have their mortgage transferred from Wells Fargo to Patrick Franz. That's why people think it's weird. Never heard about it. But let's say the Madison Management is the servicing company I use, so shout out to Madison. Mm-hmm. But it would really go from, Bank of America, let's say, who owns that mortgage. It would transfer to Madison Management, who's basically under or, in between me and the borrower. And so they never know Patrick Franz has their mortgage.
So it's a little bit of a bookkeeper / escrow to kind of just track the money and get it to the right people.
Yeah, and they send the monthly statements out. They collect the monthly payments from the borrower. They act as the bank.
They're your accounting department, basically.
100%. And then, of course, they keep notes and things like that, like banks should, on pay history and those things that, yes, if you self-serviced your own note, would be a real pain in the rear end. And that's why we hire a servicer to handle that for us, which is a very nominal fee.
Right. Yeah. No different than if having a property manager handle your renters. And
in fact, it's even better, man. It's $20 a month.
$20 a month, exactly. Yeah. And also make sure all your paperwork is in order for tax reasons, reporting issues, all that kind of stuff.
And we get into a position of being a debt collector.
Right.
And there are rules and regulations around that. And so, the one thing you can do when you're a landlord is you may be able to call your tenant and say, "Hey, Joe, how you doing?" And talk to him and work things out. But this is a different game because now you've become a debt collector. You're a lender. And so there's different rules to that. And I also don't want to be responsible for getting involved in some sort of a conversation with a homeowner, not a tenant. This is a homeowner as their debt collector and not follow the proper rules or say the right things over the phone, because that's a way to get yourself in trouble as well.
Yeah, very, very different rules when you're going in that. Obviously, renters, if they don't pay, you can evict them. Homeowners, if they don't pay, can be evicted as well, foreclosure. But they're entirely different rules that cover those two things. And if you don't do it right, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I'm not going to call a homeowner and say, "Hey, Joe, what's going on, man? You missed a couple mortgage payments. What's up?" You can't do that.
Yeah. Now, there are some note people that do, especially people that buy non-performing notes and those things. I've always found that probably it'll be a lot of work, actually.
Ton of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, a ton of work. No, I mean, the idea of becoming a note investor is to be far more passive than other type of real estate investing categories. It's very passive, and it can be, and that's why we have people like a servicing company there, and even maybe an asset manager, right? I mean, let's say you own 20 or 30 of these mortgage notes. Your servicing company is going to handle the month to month with the borrower, but who's going to manage those 30 assets and always keep an eye on them and manage those? And sometimes you actually have not only a servicing company to handle the borrower, but also you have an asset manager you hire that basically manages your assets and then tells you when you need to get involved in certain things.
That's great. We're going to take a break. We're going to be right back after this with Patrick Franz. We are talking about note investing on building solid foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We'll be right back after this.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real Men of Real Estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Notes, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station, KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about. So join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio.
Hi, this is Jim McLaughlin with Effective Action Consulting, and I've been a member of Fire Up Connect for, probably 3 years now. And what I really like about Fire Up Connect is the unique model that we go through, that we follow, the agenda, so to speak, in the meeting that really has us get engaged and involved with each other in the meetings. It's not that we're individuals, it's that we're all really working together to better ourselves, our businesses, and the community through the projects that we work on. So I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to network with people in this environment, and it's really impacted my business in a big way. So take a look.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Today we are talking about note investing with Patrick Franz. Patrick Franz is a specialist in note investing. He teaches, mentors, and trains people how to do it, and also actively does it and manages his own portfolio as well as others. So let's get into a little of, we've talked about what it is. Let's talk about why. Patrick, why is note investing a good investment? Why do people want to do this as opposed to anything else they could do?
You know, that's an interesting question that's been posed to me over the past 3 years, and I've very much simplified it for people. So thank you for asking. You know, note investing provides the three main things that most investors look for in any investment, right? Security is one thing, right? So you're judging when you invest into anything, what's my risk to lose money, or what's my risk to lose some or all of my money, like we talked about in venture capital, right? And so security, I can't say safety because there are no real safe investments. You can lose money in everything.
A CD at the bank, but it doesn't give you any interest, any return.
Yeah,
so
well, that's not an investment. That's a glorified savings account.
Yeah, it's guaranteed by the government, but that's what you get when there's perfectly safe. There's no return.
Exactly. So, I mean, I'm talking about a real investment that's going to give you some actual return, and that's one of the things, right? So security is one thing. If you're looking for something that is secure, this is about as secure as it gets, and I can explain why. But then the second thing is it has a better than normal yield. And when I say better than normal, I'm talking about the normal yields people are used to, saying, oh, geez, you know, I might be getting 10% if I stay in the stock market over 10 or 15 years, right? If I get through the ups and downs and so on, the average would be such. But, you know, how about a guaranteed yield that is above normal, okay? That's not fluctuating with any markets. Okay, because if the markets drop and the stock market crashes, or the real estate market, the value of homes even crash, well, the person still living there owes that debt, and their mortgage payment is the same amount they have to pay every month, no matter what market crashes. And then you look at the third thing, which is because they're making that mortgage payment to you, then that's mailbox money monthly. So when you look at this investment, the three main things are there in one place, and I always challenge folks. Right? And you're so smart, you can probably help me here, but I always challenge folks and say, if you can tell me where you can get an investment that is super secure, it has a very higher than normal yield, very much higher than normal yield, and it spits off monthly cash flow that can be compounded or utilized for your retirement, let's say. If those are all in one place here, and I'm always saying, you know, you can find those things in other investments, but generally all three together is difficult. You have to kind of forego one for the other. And that's why people would want to get involved in notes, because it's secure, it's great yield, spits off cash flow, and it's very passive as, say, let's compare it to being a landlord.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So so when you own the note, because it belongs, the property is being inhabited by a homeowner. Now we use that term. They don't actually own all the home. Just like when you buy a car, you don't own that car until you've paid everything off and got the pink slip, which most people never do. Home's the same way. But the homeowner means they have title to it. Okay. And so having title to it, they're responsible when the toilet backs up. They're responsible to repair the roof. They're responsible to mow the yard. They're responsible to paint it. As opposed to the landlord who has to do all that maintenance. So that's why it's a little more hands off. Generally, if the landlord wants to move out, or the homeowner wants to move out, they have to sell to someone else, or they rent it to someone else. It's their problem.
Sure. Yeah.
They just have to pay their mortgage regardless.
Yeah, and it's like, for people to really understand it, just put yourself in a homeowner's shoes, right? Yeah. I mean, you know, when you borrow money from Wells Fargo Bank to go and buy your house, you call it your house. You know, and even though you have to pay monthly to live there and you're paying off debt to Wells Fargo, you call yourself a homeowner.
That's right. Right? And Wells Fargo does not come and maintain anything for you.
No, and they sure as heck won't, right? If you call Wells Fargo and say your toilet's broken, they're probably going to laugh at you.
What they'll probably do is want to give you a home improvement loan,
yeah,
so exactly. You can go fix that thing.
Exactly. Yes. Absolutely. A home improvement loan at 15%.
That's right. That's
interest,
right. Yeah. Okay. So that's why. So that sounds all good, but there's got to be risks, right?
Yeah, sure.
So what kind of risk are we looking at if we buy notes?
Oh, all the paper cuts, man.
The paper cuts, okay.
On your finger. No, I'm kidding. That's a total joke. But obviously there's risk involved in every investment. And, you know, there's risk involved in every investment, right? If you're putting your money out in the world, there's a chance you might not get some or all of it back. That's right. True. But, you know, in this aspect, you've got something that it's so safe because there's a physical piece of real estate that's acting as your collateral that's generally worth far more than what you've invested.
Okay, and this is where we talked about secured.
Secured by a physical piece of real estate.
And that's a lien, so that means that if they don't pay, you can come back and actually take that house away from them.
Yes.
If you needed to, that's that last desperation move.
100%. I mean, let's face it, if you got a loan with Wells Fargo, folks, and you're a homeowner and you do not pay your mortgage payment to Wells Fargo, what happens to your house? It's very simple. right? They're going to get it back. They're going to get it back. And here's what I love about it, though, Steve. You know, as an ethical person, which some are and some aren't, but as an ethical person that likes to help people, right? If you're that kind of person, you get into this industry, it's really neat because you can provide value in three different ways, really. One is providing value to yourself because note investing can create major wealth and cash flow for you. The other is that you can help others invest into notes that otherwise wouldn't have gotten a secure investment with great yield, and you can help other people do it. You're valuable to other investors. But how about what people don't talk about much, which is you can be very valuable to the homeowner, right? To me, they're not a number on my computer screen, and they don't have to go through 7 different layers to get to the right person at the department. I own their mortgage, and I can be a lot more lenient and a lot more forgiving on things like forbearance programs, loan modifications, all sorts of different things. Whereas some people go right for the throat and get into note investing because they want to get into note investing to take people's houses away from them and end up with the real estate. Okay. That's an angle of attack for this business. For me, I like the cash flow. I like passive cash flow so I can have a free life. Right? Go mountain biking like we were talking about, go surfing, play golf. This is what I like to do. And so, you know, this passive cash flow is what I'm looking for. I don't really want someone's house in Michigan. Okay.
That's work.
I'm in San Diego, California. I don't want to take your house. Then I got to have that house. And oh goodness, what do I do with this now? There's exit strategies, but now it's work. So it's such a beautiful thing that you can be personable through your servicing company. You can be personable with the homeowner, and you can be a far more lenient and accepting of issues that happen in people's lives where they get behind on their mortgages and things. And I'm 100% going to try to bend over backwards to work with a homeowner to keep them in there and paying their mortgage payment because I want that cash flow versus trying to kick some family on the street and get some piece of real estate somewhere.
Okay, so I've got a note, and they're supposed to be paying me $4,000 a month or whatever. They get in a little bit of trouble. I can go back to them and say, look, if you can swing $2,500 a month, we keep this thing going. It's obviously that's going to tack on. The balance still has to get paid at some point. So they're just going to be paying longer now, and maybe that's temporary. So you can actually help them stay in their house where maybe Chase or Wells Fargo would not have.
Correct.
You can help solve their problem. You're still getting cash flow. You're still getting money coming in. Yeah. And so you're okay with it because you still got mailbox money. Not as much, but that's okay because it's at least coming in. If they stop, there's no mailbox money, and you got to go through a legal process to take the house away.
100%. And there's all sorts of things. I mean, maybe I could just say, hey, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take your $5,000 that's in arrearages, and we're just going to tack that onto the back of the loan, and it'll gain interest and everything. It's not going away, but then I'll just call you current as long as you can start paying next month. And don't even change the amount of their monthly payment if they can afford it. But that's the beautiful thing is that when you're in the bank's position, right, which really means when we invest into a mortgage note, we literally step into the bank's shoes, right? And we play by the bank's rules. Now, you have the power to really do anything. That's what's beautiful about the note industry. I mean, in all honesty, folks, you want to go crazy on the very, very wild end of it. You could, which no one would do, hopefully, but you could have the power with the stroke of your pen to sign a document that releases them from all the debt and say that they don't own any they don't owe any mortgage payment anymore.
Oh, that'd be if you're Santa Claus, I guess.
Okay, but I'm saying it's that you have that much power and everything in between.
Right. Okay, and so now if at any point they decide to sell the house, you get paid off.
Yes.
Okay, the full value of what that note is.
Yeah, and you know. I know where you're leading with that, and I'll just say, guys, here's the thing. If you buy a mortgage note, people want to know what's the deal. How does it work, right? How does it work? What's going to happen? I don't know. Well, I'll make it simple. I buy a mortgage note. It's performing. That means that there's a homeowner living there, and they're paying the mortgage payment on time. And I buy that, and I put it in my portfolio. I guarantee you there's only 3 things that are going to happen with that note. 1, they're going to pay as agreed. And that means if it's got 15 years term left or something like that, that means that passively for the next 15 years, every month on the 12th, I'm going to get cash flow from that thing and not have to worry. That's pretty neat, especially when you've bought it to where it yields something like 10, 12, 14, who knows what percentage. Okay. So you're getting this good annualized yield and passive cash flow. So if number 1 happens and they just continue to pay the mortgage payment for the next 15 years, sweet. The other thing is, like you said, if someone who's living there decides to refinance with a new bank or sell the house and move to Florida, you get, as the lender, what's called early payoff. That means whatever the total payoff balance owed by that homeowner at the time, you're going to get in one lump sum. And I know we didn't cover this yet, but these notes are bought at discounts, which means if somebody owes the bank $500,000 on their house, I may go to that bank and offer to buy that remaining debt for $450,000 cash. So the day I buy that note, I have instant equity, which you don't get in real estate. You have to wait for the market to rise. So when you get instant equity, that means I'm in for 450 grand, and I'm using big numbers here, folks. You can buy a note for 25 grand, okay? But if I buy a note for 450,000, they owe me 500,000 on paper. Okay, that means I've got a $50,000 equity increase the day I do the deal. But say I collect cash flow for 2 or 3 years off of that thing. I'm in for 450. I'm collecting $3,000 a month positive cash flow for 2-3 years. Then all of a sudden, they decide to sell the house and move to Florida, right? Well, that discount is going to be cashed in at that time. And generally that means that although I'm getting my cash back, okay, which sometimes for us that just want to collect passive cash flow, now it's work. Now I have to take that cash and go maybe buy another mortgage note with it. But it usually increases my return since I was able to buy the debt at a discount. When I get paid off early, I cash in that discount, right? So boom. And the other third thing that could happen, which is everybody's major question and fear, is, oh goodness, what if they go delinquent and they don't pay? Well, we were talking about earlier, at end all be all, I can do a judicial foreclosure and take the house. But before that, imagine cash for keys options with folks, right? Where I'm helping them relocate because maybe they got in a bad financial position. Maybe it's a deed in lieu situation that was happening all over the place in 2009 and 10 because everybody was upside down. They owed the bank more than what the house was worth. And their exit strategy may have been, hey, I'll just sign the house back to the bank and walk away clean. And there's all sorts of options we can do. But ultimately, prior to that, hey, let's loan mod, let's forbear, let's put some of this on the back end and just keep you current if you can handle it. And let me help you stay in your house.
Great. Okay, with that, we're going to go to another break, and we're going to finish our conversation when we come back. We're talking to Patrick Franz. He is an expert in note investing and also one of the hosts of Real Men of Real Estate right here on KCAA. This is Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We'll be right back after this.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real Men of Real Estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Notes, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about. So join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio.
Hi, this is Jim McLaughlin with Effective Action Consulting, and I've been a member of Fire Up Connect for, probably 3 years now. And what I really like about Fire Up Connect is the unique model that we go through, that we follow, the agenda, so to speak, in the meeting that really has us get engaged and involved with each other in the meetings. It's not that we're individuals, it's that we're all really working together to better ourselves, our businesses, and the community through the projects that we work on. So I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to network with people in this environment, and it's really impacted my business in a big way. So take a look.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We are talking to Patrick France today. He is a note investor. Also, you may recognize him from Real Men of Real Estate, where he's one of the recurring hosts once a month, right here on KCAA. Patrick, before the break, we were talking about note investing, why you may want to do it, what are the three possible outcomes, and how those generally can work out to your favor no matter how it works out. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about how much money does it take to get into this thing? Because I'm thinking, wait a minute, houses today are $800,000, $1 million, $1.2 million. So the mortgages on these things have got to be somewhere in the $500 million range. I don't have that kind of money. I can't buy those kind of notes. How can I get into this deal?
We must be in California.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you know, there's plenty of areas across the Midwest and the Southeast, right, that houses, some still go for less than $100,000 by today's value. And so, you know, what does it take money to start? I mean, that's an odd question. I could say that it takes zero money to start, that gaining expertise in this field could become your value to others that have the money. Okay. You know, so it doesn't take any money to start. But if you're asking if somebody does have some money, say you have some money sitting around IRA, 401k, you've sold your motorhome that you stopped using and now you got 80 grand sitting around, whatever it is, looking for a good place to put it. If you're one of those folks that says, I'm not going to go to the stock market right now, I'm not going to put it into a CD account to earn 1%, and I'm not going to go flip a house, this might be a cool thing for you to put your money into so that you can have something that's passive, secured, spits off cash flow. All right. Now, I don't know. I think I got lost on your question.
Okay, so the question is, how much money do I need to buy a note?
I've bought a note for $4,300.
Okay. And so a note, a mortgage note for $4,300. And how much time was left on that note?
I think 8 years.
8 years. And what was the payments coming in?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I think it was 100 and something.
Okay, so this is probably a lower value property in a different area, but it's still cash flow.
Yeah, still cash flow. Still cash flow. And, you know, I mean, let's say if you want a note in first lien position on a valuable home, a piece of collateral in a good neighborhood, you know, and those things, you might be looking today's market somewhere around maybe 45,000. And that would put you in a really good, clean opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned, Patrick mentioned your position. Position means that as there's debts that are using that particular piece of property as collateral, they kind of go in order of when they were filed. Now, they call usually the main mortgage first position usually, which is not always true. The first position is always the county that's collecting taxes. But that's kind of zero position. That's the default. So that lien is on every property everywhere all the time. Then the first position is whoever else comes along that is usually your primary mortgage holder. And then sometimes people have a second mortgage. Yep. And maybe there's a mechanic's lien because they did some repairs and didn't pay the contractor. And there's different things that show up. And all those are in order of different positions. And if you are in a lower value property that doesn't have a lot of equity and you're in fifth or sixth position, there's a good chance you will not get paid off if that gets foreclosed.
Correct.
However, if you're in first position, you're virtually guaranteed to get your money back.
100%, and that's a beautiful thing. And I think that, you know, investing in first or second position are both wise in this market, right? Some people, like you said, will get their mortgage, move into the house and start paying and everything. And then after a while they say, you know, gee, we ought to remodel this kitchen. And they get themselves an equity line of credit or something and they remodel the kitchen. And they're paying on their first mortgage and they're paying clean every month on their second mortgage. And, you know, you can buy either of those. But yes, obviously there's a little bit more risk in a second position because when it happens to be, if there's not enough money left in equity in that house, when it gets sold or foreclosed or anything like that, if there's not enough money after first lien position is paid in full, whatever's left goes to second, right?
That's right.
And so you can get cut down or even lose fully in those positions.
Right. And generally, though, that's what you'd want to look at it before you bought that. What's the situation? How much equity is in this thing? Because you want to buy it in a position where if the market turned down, markets don't turn down usually 50 to 70% in value. They might go down 20% in value in a bad downturn. in extreme markets, it could drop by half, but that's very, very unusual.
Certainly. I mean, that's 2008 was the nastiest thing we had ever seen, right?
That's right.
Still didn't. I mean, 50% was tough to get.
It was pretty rough. Yeah, 30% was probably the max on most of that stuff, which is a pretty bad hit. Puts you upside down. Most people put them upside down if they were only into it for 3% on an FHA or they were 20%.
And they bought in 2005. Yeah,
and the high of it. Yeah. But generally, if you have enough room in there that it could devalue by 10% and there's still plenty of room to pay you off, you're good even if you're in a second or third position if all that adds up.
Yeah. I mean, you're alluding to the fact that, this is a specialized investment. It's not something that is exact correlation to real estate. So if you flipped houses and you're a landlord and you're thinking, oh, easy transition, it's a totally different beast. Yeah. You're in the money business now, really not the real estate business. Yeah. And it does take a lot of learning. I mean, right, it's a very extensive due diligence process to make sure that you're putting yourself in a position that is very secure.
Yeah. Your risk could be if you're too far down and the first lien holder forecloses and there's not enough money to cover everybody down the line, and that would be one of the risks you want to check. And one of those risks may be mitigated by saying I'm not going to buy anything that's past second position if there's not enough money to cover it.
There you see, yes, absolutely.
And so you create your parameters. Anything you do, you need to create your set of rules, your set of parameters, and say this would be a good investment for me. And if these boxes aren't checked, then I'm going to pass on it.
First thing I do with most of my students, I tell them, look, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to really build your own personal investment criteria. It's different with everybody.
And people have different levels of risk. Yeah. There's risk-averse people, there's risk-tolerant people, and there's everything in between.
Yeah, and there's let's go bet it on red and see what happens.
That's right, yeah. So you mentioned you have students, and so that leads to the fact you do run training for people to learn how to do this. Learn how to get into this operation. You mentioned earlier that if you don't have money, you can learn about it and get your foot in the door that way. So let's talk about that. You do coaching through a formal program with your company. So let's talk about what does that look like?
It's called Node Investor University. And find it at, of course, nodeinvestoruniversity.com. But, we have levels for everyone. And so what I do is I host a Saturday mastermind call for an hour and a half, 8:30 to 10 a.m. every Saturday morning. And this morning there was 55 like-minded investors on the mastermind call this morning. And so it's a great group, and we meet every week and we discuss everything about note investing and more, right? Our group's not just here's how you buy notes, right? We're talking about infinite banking and trusts and keeping family wealth and all those things. Note investing being a very good investment vehicle that goes along with all that. Right. But the mastermind group, it's very inexpensive, $149 a month membership, no startup fee, no long-term contract, kind of like most people's gym membership. You go hard for 3 months, might quit after that, but it's okay. We're trying to spread this knowledge to the masses and try to change as many people's mindsets about how the money game works as possible. Right. And it's fun. It's entertaining. We have guest speakers galore on there. And I even was thinking, geez, with these land deals, I got to get you on there one of these days as a guest speaker on the mastermind. But also for people who want to take it more serious, right? You can enroll into the Node Investor University and take 6 college course modules, I think 86 different video training sessions, accumulative in all those modules, and then there's final exams after each module, just like a real university.
So is this an asynchronous program?
Yeah, and you actually get 12-month automatic membership into the Saturday Mastermind group by doing this one. But it's for somebody that really wants to go ahead and just knock out the education part as quickly as possible, which is what I recommend for folks. I mean, look, you want to get serious about it, knock the education part out real quick so you own it, and then see where you want to move with it, right? The only other program we have is for folks that really understand real estate. They're already business folks, and maybe they really want to run quickly. And it's our master's certification program where you're getting my one-on-one time and my mentor's one-on-one time, and we're really setting you up. 90-day quick start to how to set up your entity, how to open your trust, how to do all sorts of things to start off with a solid foundation, Steve.
Okay, great. And is this something open to everybody?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Because I think a lot of people, they look at these things and they get a little confused and they think, okay, that's for those kind of people, the people that went to business school. They're more sophisticated, people that came from money, people that, whatever. And they think that that's something, it sounds great, but I don't know if I could ever do it.
Steve, I look at that like saying that's like people with strong legs are the only ones that could ride bicycles. Okay. Everybody listening has probably ridden a bicycle. Maybe most of you who listening on AM probably have driven a car by now, right? We're not 15-year-olds listening to the show, I don't think. But, when you first drove a car, if you can think way back when, folks, it was very difficult. your dad, your mom, your driver instructor, whoever had to really tell you where's the blinker and how to shift the gears. And if it was a stick shift like back in the day, that was fun to learn, right? And it was all nerve-wracking and scary and weird. And all of a sudden, just in a very short amount of time, it all became second nature, right? You don't have to think about getting in your car or where the blinker's at or anything like that.
Build the muscle memory and it's
Boom
just there.
saga. And so it's the same darn thing. You know, you don't have to be anybody special. You have to be somebody that's willing to put in the time and the effort to stay around, ask the right questions, and learn the skill sets. And the beautiful thing about life is you want your life to change dramatically, you change first. Right? And so learn new skills to become more valuable to the marketplace. Now, if you learn skills in note investing, I told you, you become very valuable to the marketplace, not only for yourself, for other investors, and also for homeowners.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then we can convert that. Having knowledge has value to it. A lot of people they miss that. I think a lot of people miss that. But learning something and knowing it very well can be converted into money.
I think that's the way the world works.
That's right. Yeah. But a lot of people don't. I think they miss that. They think, okay, I don't have the money. I can learn all this stuff, but I don't know how to get paid on that.
Can you learn how to weld?
Yeah. And so for like note investing, if they learn how to do note investing but still don't have money to invest, how do they monetize that?
Well, I mean, you know, maybe you've got an uncle or a friend or somebody that does have the money.
Okay, so do you earn commissions on that, or?
I mean, I would partner with somebody.
Partner,
right?
okay,
yeah, sure. It's like this, folks. Let me make it simple. I know notes is hard to understand. Let's go house flip. Let's say I become really skilled at house flipping, so I know how to use all the tools, and I got a couple crew guys, and I got trucks to get the stuff from Home Depot, and I'm good at moldings and paint and all this other stuff. That's my skill set.
Right.
Well, somebody else who's sitting on a pile of money looking for a place to invest that may not want to, nor have the skill set to go and use tools and fix a house up. So I may then say, well, geez, I'm not liquid myself for enough money to go to Home Depot to buy all the stuff to fix this house up. But if I did have enough money and I did my skill set, which was fix this house up, it's going to make a hell of a profit. Right. So, geez, let me go reach out to some people that have some money and show them that I'm a good house flipper, and say, would you want to partner with me? If you fund the rehab on this thing, I'll put in the time, effort, and skill, and at the end, we'll both win. Well, if you can do the same thing with notes, if you have the skill set, then you can go ahead and invite somebody to invest with you in one of your note deals, and maybe the two really benefit each other. You need their money, they need your skills, and you guys can both benefit.
Right. Okay, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to put a bow on this conversation talking about notes with Patrick Franz. This is Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We'll be right back after this.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing, and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Notes, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about, so join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio.
Hi, this is Jim McLaughlin with Effective Action Consulting, and I've been a member of Fire Up Connect for, probably 3 years now. And what I really like about Fire Up Connect is the unique model that we go through, that we follow, the agenda, so to speak, in the meeting that really has us get engaged and involved with each other in the meetings. It's not that we're individuals, it's that we're all really working together to better ourselves, our businesses, and the community through the projects that we work on. So I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to network with people in this environment, and it's really impacted my business in a big way. So take a look.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. We are talking about note investing today with Patrick Franz. Patrick Franz has been giving us information on what investing is, why you want to do it, some of the risk in it, and how it works. Patrick's also the host of Real Men of Real Estate here on KCAA, one of the rotating hosts. And if you miss any of our shows, don't forget you can catch us on KCAAradio.com. We're in the archives. You can catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire, or Android on the Building Solid Foundations channel. And all of our shows are archived there, both Building Solid Foundations, Real Men of Real Estate, and a lot of other shows, some out of KCAA, some not, that are on those streaming channels. All right, Patrick, so let's kind of wrap our conversation up here. I think we've covered a lot of ground. We've kind of defined what a note is. We've talked about why we may want to do it, talked about how people can learn about it. There's a lot of options out there, and we kind of covered why notes is different, but for people even not even sure why they would want to invest, because we get audience from all over the place. Sure. What can this really do for them? Getting involved in putting money to work as opposed to buying a pair of Air Jordans or buying a new car or doing something else with that money if you invest it, because doesn't seem like as much fun. What can it do for a person long term?
Set you free.
Set you free from what?
Financially free. Set you free.
Okay.
Set you free. Guys, that's it. I mean, so, most people are confused the way most people have been raised in our era to think that in order to be financially free or claim wealth and be wealthy, live that free life where you see the people on the boat and everything. God, how come he doesn't have to work? He's just out there on the boat. He must be rich. He must have hit it big.
His parents were rich. Yeah, they gave him money, right?
Yeah, gave money, but that means they gave you like $1 million, right? And that's what people think, man. I have to have I finally hit it big. I got $1 million from something.
$1 million won't last long.
No, listen, it won't. And you know what? Almost it's passive monthly cash flow that sets you free. Don't be fooled, folks. If somebody gave you $1 million today, would you have the financial intelligence to put it in the right places, or would you go buy boats and motorcycles and watch it disappear?
Well, let's see. What's the history of the majority of people that win the lottery?
You see. So now there you go. If you have any money, or if you're able to build a portfolio of notes instead of waste the money, the cash flow coming in from those notes can pay the lease payment on your BMW. The cash flow every month coming from those notes can buy you the fishing boat and afford you the time to go and use those toys instead of parking them in the garage and working to make the payment. So it's passive cash flow is why people would want to get into notes.
So let's put this in perspective. I get every month I get this stack of bills. Now, it used to come in the mail. Some still do. Some come electronically, right? But let's say that for every bill I had, I got a cable bill, or I've got a utility bill, I've got a mortgage or a rent bill, I've got an auto bill, I've got an insurance bill, I got all these bills, right? Let's say for each one of those, I had some kind of a rental property, a note, a something somewhere that had money coming in, and it happened to line up with the amount of those recurring bills. I would eventually not need to have that recurring paycheck from my job, because all this money that keeps coming in from all these things is each one's paying another bill. And if I get enough, then I'm beyond the bills and I have money to pay for other things I like.
And wouldn't it feel good to be able to walk in and fire your boss?
Yeah, well, even if you like your boss, it's nice not to have to be on their schedule, right?
Need to fire your boss. You're fired. I'm not working for you anymore. See ya.
I've worked for jobs that I really enjoyed, and it was very difficult leaving there. But one reason, the last job I left because I had started my business, and it was doing very, very well, and I had to make a decision. It was one of those, okay, I like where I work, and they do pay me very well. However, in evenings and weekends, I'm making 4 times as what I make in the 40 to 50 hours a week that I'm doing the job. So what am I going to do? Duh, right? So I left a company, a boss, a situation, people I really, really enjoyed. I loved the challenge of the job. I loved every day I did it. But I also liked what I was doing on my own and making a lot more money at it. So yes, I had to leave and go do my own thing, and I've been doing that ever since. So, and it is nice that when I want to do something, I can just go do it. I don't need to ask permission. I don't need to they don't say you only have 14 days a year to do what you want to do.
Yeah, and you know, folks, it's nice to not be worried about the bank account balance when you're going to buy groceries, get gasoline in your car, and any of those sorts of endeavors.
Making those decisions on what am I cutting out this week because I can't cover everything.
It's a trapped feeling, right? And it's the bank account balance that you've got and your gas tank have two things in common. When your gas tank is on E, you think about gas all the time because you know you've got to hit a station soon and get some. And once you fill it up all the way to full, you don't think about gas for a long time now.
That's
you
right.
Just drive down the street confidently. And so, yeah, it's getting just past that amount of monthly cash flow that covers your existing lifestyle where you just don't have to work 8 hours a day to afford your rent anymore.
And get what you need when you need it.
Yeah, and do what you want with whom you want, where you want, and all that. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it can get for you.
So I'll give you an example. So I was, my laptop, I was working on it, and all of a sudden, it just shuts down and won't work, right? Well, it's plugged in, everything's working. I can't figure it out. I'm like going, this sucks. I went to the store, bought another one. Didn't worry about it because I have the money to do that. Why? Because the business allows me to do that. Yes. Working at a regular job probably wouldn't have. It had been more budgeted stuff. It wasn't even a stress out. Now, the files in there, I can go get someone to extract them. Turned to find out it's because the brick wasn't connected right. So it did actually run out of battery. So that was an easy fix, right? I could take that thing back if I wanted to, but that was a $1,200 computer. It didn't even faze me because I didn't have to stress over it. Yep. And you think about what position you're in if that happens and you don't have the resources. Now you have to decide, do I not work because I don't have the tool I need, or do I not eat this month, or do I not pay my rent?
And speaking of firing your boss, what if you get fired? What if your company shuts down?
See, how many layoffs did Meta do in the last couple months?
Okay,
How many did Amazon do? How many did Twitter do?
Yeah, so job security is a false statement, right?
It's an oxymoron.
It's an oxymoron. So, yeah, it's a false statement. So if you want to create real security, you have to have assets that spit off passive cash flow. And
so notes will do that. So basically that's just to reiterate that put the money to work. If you can focus, budget, set some money aside. Yes, you will forego some of the luxuries for right now, but you can put money into that, buy some notes, get those going and start producing cash flow, and you build that over time. With notes, you can invest in rental properties. You can build a portfolio of different things, stocks, bonds, whatever you want to do. You start building a portfolio of different investments, and notes is a good way to get some income producing investments. Yeah. Patrick, I want to thank you for talking about notes today with our listeners. Don't forget to tune in and listen to Patrick on Real Men of Real Estate and the other host right here on KCAA. We are also, again, on the streaming channels on Roku, Amazon Fire, and on Android on the Building Solid Foundations channel, which is a free channel you can download. We will be here every week on Building Solid Foundations on Thursdays at 3 p.m., replays Sundays at 2 p.m. I'm your host, Steve Matley, and until next week, go do something different.
KCAA. NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Most of the southern United States has